there's so much desire right now for an independent seal that this could be and will be the thing that unifies all Canadian craft brewers. And this time, instead of doing the one thing and separating, this time I want us to do the one thing and realize how powerful we are as a group.
Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 89 of Beer Not Just the Podcast. And we are here at Mondial de la Bière. This is something completely different. Haven't done anything like this before. I have Fred Tremblay and Steve Beauschesne. I actually said your name wrong, like an idiot in our podcast. You didn't call me out on it.
Well, no, that'd be rude.
Yeah, I mean, you could have. Both respective co-founders of BAOS and of MicroBrasserie Charlevoix. Gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. You guys came very far for this. So, what are you guys drinking, by the way?
A Belgian double from Norgne.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Different?
Yeah, I got a Brazilian strong ale.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I got that Steam Whistle flagship IPA. Vancouver. Keeping it local. Steamworks. I'm really tired. All right. Thank you for correcting me.
I won't correct you on my name, but on the important things.
How rude are you?
Jeez, Steve, I thought you were a nice bloke. God damn it.
I'm looking out for you.
I appreciate it. Always do. So, the purpose of this podcast, we probably should go back to the start. So, our friends at Four Origins, MicroBrasserie Four Origins, who, funnily enough, are just inside there. They're going to come out here. So they reached out to me because they wanted to talk about their new Quebec independence seal. And there was a post on Capsule Bière on Facebook. Were you commenting on that? Were either you guys?
I did.
You were? Okay. I guess I didn't know who you were. We met just shortly after.
Yep.
There was a whole bunch of chatter, mixed response, I guess, from that. Then Fred, you commented on the BAOS post about it. So we did the video. They wanted to clarify that. So we did a video, a new segment, and it was about 20-25 minute video with them just breaking down exactly what their intentions were and sort of clarifying some of the questions from online. Then, perfect, that you reached out and said that you and Steve had just been together at the CBAs in Halifax, and you had some things that you wanted to clarify and talk about the other initiative that Steve, you've been working on for the last little bit. So I figured, well, instead of just doing a short segment, this is definitely worthy of a long-form podcast. So as opposed to just like like episode 60 we did with you, where we, get into sort of how the brewery started and the story behind it and stuff. Now this is like just a bit more of a free-form thing where we want to sort of go deep into something like this. This is really interesting, and this is like, I guess it's historical in the sense that Canada is going through the process of creating its national seal and stuff, which we'll get into, and it's, you guys are like spearheading it. So if you haven't watched the video on Four Origins, I'll put the link in the description, so check that out. So
and just to make things clear, it's just not, we don't want it to be an answer to that podcast. It happened to put some questions, and we realized that were a lot of misconceptions or things that were not known, that as brewers in Ontario, Quebec, and all across Canada, we were working on something. So it's just an opportunity really for us that you give us today, just to come and speak freely about what's coming. Because we want to reassure people that a lot of people are taking care of their business.
Yes.
So it's not because, we've met with the guys from Quatre Origines. They're really good guys. We get along very well. So it's not really a fight. It's not an answer.
No,
it's
not at all.
Really just we all want to get together. We realize everybody wants to work for the well-being of the beer industry in Canada. And I think that's what we want to try to do today, is really answer some questions.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is. And it's like, the fact that they just rocked up and they're going to come hang out as well. Like it's all love. It's just like,
They did a pretty good job of shaking the foundations now.
They caused the conversation to get started, I guess, and to push it maybe faster or forward in a way. So I mean, if they contributed to that, that's fantastic. So I guess we'll start. It probably would make sense to start with the Quebec stuff. And we have a few little, I guess, a bit of an agenda of the things we want to talk about. So do you want to start with sort of, I guess, how it's sort of from your side?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of talk actually nowadays between, the independent seal and the quality certification program that we have in Quebec.
Yes.
And just to clarify things, it's like Groundhog Day for us, because when Unibrew was sold, okay, I know that Trou du Diable was a big thing. Everybody's talking about that, but we have to remember that 10 years ago it was Unibrew that was sold to Sleeman, which was sold after to Sapporo.
Yes.
And so at the time we were like 30 breweries in Quebec, maybe 20 members of the association, and we really decided that we wanted to go with something that would, show on our bottles that we were independent.
Right.
So, it's not something that just happened 2 days ago. It's something that we've been talking about for years. And when we were meeting, we had a lot of people saying, of course, it would be good to have a seal, but I'm not going to put the seal on my bottle if this guy has it, because he's not brewing good beers, quality beers. So we said, okay, so what would be, the things, the conditions that would make you be happy to put your seal and everybody. So we said we should make sure that, the breweries that are part of this have a quality insurance program in place.
Right. Just to clarify, sorry, because I didn't say this before, you were the president of the AMBQ, which is the...
For 5 years.
For 5 years.
Yeah, but that was way before me.
Oh, this was before?
Yeah.
So when you're saying we, you're actually talking as Charlevoix.
I'm talking about the AMBQ because I was still on the board. I was on the board, but I was not the president. I was
at the time. Okay.
I was a small brewer, 500 hectoliter per year.
Right.
Actually, when it happened, and so that's why there's a little bit of confusion between what the AMBQ is doing and some people are complaining because they want to have the independent seal, and we were like, we don't want to go back and talk about independent seal and have to go through all of this story again.
Right.
So we said we're close to having a lot of breweries certified, so with the quality seal, with the quality certification seal. So just to make it short, we did that, and then at the time people were saying, well, those guys who have bigger breweries, more money, will be able to put in place a quality insurance program, but the smaller guys will not have enough money. So it's like a cleavage with, all the big guys will be allowed to promote themselves, but the small guy will not. So we said, okay, so what should we do? So we said the bigger brewers said, we're going to give or share for free what we're doing. And we're going to go and hire some consultant, and it's going to be paid by the MBQ to build this program that I have here, and I'm proud to have it here. And it's a book, you have all the good practices in the industry. It's not going to tell you what to brew, what to put in your beer, but if you're wondering what should I do when I want to filter my beer, what are the processes that I should go through, what is the oxygen content I should aim for when I bottle or can my beer, it's all in there.
Right.
And it's all free when you join the MBQ.
Okay.
So, first thing in the quality thing, it was the quality insurance program is a tool for brewers.
Okay.
It's free.
Right.
So just to make sure everybody understands, it's not, you don't need consultant, it's not going to cost you money. It's free.
Right.
And it's a tool for brewers. And then after, when it was done, 5 years after that, we said, okay, so what should we do to have the seal? And we have to put ourselves in a consumer perspective where, you're going to pay $5 for a beer. What do you expect?
Right.
And that's when the certification came from. It's now, if I'm a consumer, I should expect this and that and that. And that's what the audit is about.
Right.
Because some brewers were saying we should send bottles in an independent lab to check if the alcohol content, if the IBUs and all that stuff is true. And is it contaminated? Is it going to explode or whatever? And that's where it came from. And it's when we talk about AMBQ, sometimes I have the feeling that people think it's a big monster, but it's 125 members, small brewers that are 200 hectoliter per year, bigger brewer with 100,000 X per year, and it's all a program that people agreed on, people worked on, and it has nothing to do. It's not competing against what's happening right now. So that's where it came from, and that's why the MBQ focus was really when people were calling to know if we were going to go ahead with a independent seal. We said, we've been there, we've done that. Now we are focusing on that, but we're open to discussion. And we know there's a big discussion coming up in Halifax, and we should wait and see and talk about all of this when we have our new strategic
like
plan that we're doing right now.
Right.
So it's a very good time to talk about all those things. I hope things were clarified about the quality program and the quality certification. There are two things.
Okay.
Tool for brewers and consumer perspective.
Right. And so only members of the AMBQ currently can be quality certified, is that right?
Yeah, well, if you want to have the quality program that costs a lot of money to put together, you have to become a member, and it's pretty cheap, really. If you get all of that stuff, plus a course, plus all the templates that are needed to put together all the paperwork that is needed, and I say all the paperwork, that's not that bad.
Right.
That's not that bad. I was talking with my brewer a few weeks ago, and I was asking, so do you do some overtime? How time consuming is it for you to do all the things that are needed by the certification? And he said, Fred, the only difference between me and a brewer that doesn't have the certification is that I have less time to chat on Facebook with my friends.
Right.
Because I'm filling a little more paperwork, but I'm not doing any
Still
overtime.
waiting for the mash to convert.
Exactly. Anyway, so you have all the time that's needed.
Okay, so then one of the criticisms that were made of this particular program was that it was expensive, so I guess it is free if you're a member.
Yeah.
And that I believe it started some time ago and it took a few years to get to be created, but it only really was released
a year ago.
1 year ago.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of the research, like you said, there was research putting it together and making sure it was like accurate information.
Giving courses to
putting together a course is quite.
Yeah, we have 125 members, so you cannot put them all. So we have like seminars every year to understand everything that's done, and the quality insurance program itself doesn't cost a thing. You do it, and quite frankly, if I was a startup, I would take this, look at all the templates, and say, okay, that's what a professional
how a professional
brew sheet looks like, as opposed to I'm a home brewer, let's say. And why is that happening, and why do they ask that? Look into the manual; it's probably explained, and you can call whoever you want in the brewing industry. They're going to explain to you why it's important to do that.
Right.
And then you do that, all the templates, everything, and then after you're good to go.
Right.
Of course, if you want to have the certification, then you have to have some of your beer tested in a lab. So that's the money, but nobody's making any money out of it.
Right.
It's all because it costs money to have your beer tested, and then after you have the certification. And I think people should be proud to have that seal of quality.
Right.
I think if you go through all the websites of all the breweries in Quebec and probably Ontario and Canada, I would be curious to see which brewery doesn't have quality written somewhere on their website.
Right.
They probably have quality written somewhere because they say they make quality. So what bad is it if you have someone from the outside that's testify and certify that you put together all the efforts to make sure that you have a stable beer that your consumer can rest assured that if they pay $5 this week or in a month, they're going to have access to the same quality beer, and that the beer that you put on the market is as good as the one you won a medal at the Canadian Brewing Awards with. You're just not shipping the good stuff to the contest and selling not as good beer. So
Gotcha.
it's all the process that was behind that. It's not evil. It's just trying to help.
Right. And then how does independence correlate with the quality side? I mean, I guess if you remember of the AMBQ, you don't have to pay for this with the exception of the beer testing. But if you're not a member, can a brewery get the quality thing? Because I guess to be a member, there must be stipulations like the American Brewers Association or something that you have to make X amount of under this amount and this amount of ownership. Is there something like that like keeps the independent side of it, or is it completely got nothing to do with it?
Well, to be a member of the AMBQ, and I guess it's probably the same with the Ontario Craft Brewers, you have to be independent.
Okay, so that automatically we're a member. Well, of course we're independent because you truly now could not be a member of AMBQ.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they had to resign when they sold to Molson.
Right. So that's sort of for both of you, a question for both of you then, is that independence thing, in this sense, is it still necessary in relation to this quality thing, or they're just two separate arguments or two separate situations that don't really need to be compared?
Well, AMBQ point of view, we were still pushing for the quality seal because we spent a lot of money. We took a lot of time working on that. So and it was, you know, by default, if you had that, you're independent. But, you know, we're listening to our members and all those who are not even members, and they're saying we should have an independent seal as a whole. So we're listening. We're talking with other provinces, and looking for Steve to really tell you about all the Canadian association.
Right.
So it's always thinking about the greater good of brewers and consumers, and we're listening to what our people are saying, and if you know they want to have an independent logo on top of the quality one.
Yep.
Well, it's going to be a decision that they will have to make in November at the Brewers Association conference.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you look at it one way, they're two separate but very intertwined ideas.
Okay.
There's the idea of a seal that unites brewers because they're independent, but then there's also the the ability to make that seal also stand for quality.
Right.
You could have literally two separate seals, one that stood for quality and one that stood for independence, but at that point you're filling up a lot of real estate on your bottle with different seals. So there's more than one way that this might all sort out. But the main concept with independence is that you're not owned by one of the very large brewers in the world.
Yes.
And then the idea of quality is one that has been tied up, I'd say, probably in every provincial association. I know at the Ontario Craft Brewers, we launched a seal probably 6 years ago now.
Okay.
And we had all the same conversations around whether or not there needed to be a quality program, because what does the seal really stand for? Does the seal just stand for the fact that you're an Ontario craft brewer, or are we espousing to some level of quality? And a good example would be something like what the VQA does with Ontario wine,
where there's a quality specific.
There's a quality program, but the first part of that quality program is it has to be Ontario grapes.
Right.
So this is the same sort of idea as, do we want to make the independent seal stand for independence, or do we want to make it stand for quality and independence? And there's more than one way that could play out, but I can tell you that all the other provinces in Canada are very envious of the work that Quebec has done with their quality program, and it is leaps and bounds ahead of what Ontario's done, and I would guess it's leaps and bounds ahead of every province in the country. So when we start talking about benefits of a national association, one of the things that really quickly jumps to mind is the idea of sharing best practices between provinces. So there are certain things that Ontario's done really well that I think would be a huge benefit to Quebec. This quality manual and quality certification program that Quebec's developed would be a huge benefit to Ontario and to any other province. If we kind of take it back to sort of the first principles, there's a belief that I've held very firmly, and that seems to be bedrock for craft brewing, is that if we all help each other, we all benefit. And I think sometimes we get caught up in sort of the politics of borders and stuff, but as brewers, we're kind of above all that. And as craft brewers, we care more about the camaraderie between brewers than we do about what side of an imaginary border that we sit on. And that's why
we're here.
Absolutely, that's why we're here. Fred and I are friends first and foremost, and I've developed wonderful relationships with brewers right around the world. And to me, helping out a brewer is the most important thing that we can do, because when we help someone else, there's a sense that creates the atmosphere where we can all improve each other's work, and we can all do better together. And none of us on our own can really stand up against, the really giant breweries that we're competing against.
Yeah.
They're literally thousands of times bigger than us. And at the same time, when we all stand together, we actually have a chance. And that's where you see that craft beer has performed the greatest. You also find that is where the brewers have worked together the most.
Right.
And Canada, unfortunately, while all the brewers hang out together and have fun together, I shouldn't say we never, because we did.
6 years ago, we had some kind of...
Well, just as we were opening, all the brewers in the country got together and they went to government and said, we need tax breaks for the really small brewers, because there's no way we can survive otherwise.
Right.
And the government listened and said, yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
And at that moment in time, instead of the brewers saying, oh my God, this is powerful, we should really keep doing this, they said, oh, we achieved our goal, we're done. And then they all kind of went back doing their own thing.
Right.
And I feel like that was a real opportunity missed. And sometimes what you need is that thing that everybody can rally behind, because everybody's always got their different opinions of how this should be done or how that should be done. Mm-hmm. But if we have that one thing that everybody's really passionate about, like 12 years ago when everybody really needed those tax rates reduced, then it gives everybody that momentum. And I feel like there's so much desire right now for an independent seal that this could be and will be the thing that unifies all Canadian craft brewers. And this time, instead of doing the one thing and separating, this time I want us to do the one thing and realize how powerful we are as a group, and then keep working on it, because I just see so much opportunity for us if we can get past the sort of the individual concerns of not just each province but each brewer, because you put 10 brewers in a room and we're all fiercely independent, right? So it's also hard for us to all agree on everything all the time.
Right.
But I think if we really focus on what's the benefit for us all agreeing to the things we can agree to, and focus on what makes us similar as opposed to the things that make us different, then we've got so much power as a group. We know that not just our customers, people in general want us to succeed. They're behind us. Politicians seem to be behind us. Everyone seems to be behind us. But if we can't talk with one voice, we tend to drown each other out, and then we never get the progress that we're looking for.
Right. Interesting. That was really well said. So then,
sorry I rambled.
No, it's good. I'm loving all of this. This is all gold.
I'll get off my soapbox now.
Stay put, sir. I guess we could probably move on to that next step. So basically, do we feel like we've covered the Quebec stuff pretty well?
Oh yeah.
You feel confident with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So then, maybe was it 2 weeks ago or something? Probably was the Canadian Brewing Awards in Halifax, and that was why when the Qatar Regime stuff happened, it was a couple weeks before the fest. And then I think that's when you were saying, or some people were saying, like, or maybe it was you specifically, Fred, that was like, guys, like, chill out for a sec. You guys were like already talking, and there'd been some movement towards like either a Quebec or a national thing. I guess it's more of a national thing. Or was there a Quebec side that was already being worked on, or was it just the Quebec was quality, and then Steve, you've been working on the national?
But we know that some brewers in Quebec were working on an independent thing to propose to the AMBQ, and Ontario they probably had the same. But we met when we were in Nashville.
Oh yeah,
and,
CBC was.
We were at CBC in Nashville, and we had meetings saying, okay, all the provinces should meet in Halifax to really sit down and have a proposal to form a national association. Maybe you're probably better off to talk to you about it. And the important thing, I think, everybody was like, oh, what is this national association? Is it going to be a competing association? Because, you know, a lot of provinces are struggling to have all the brewers in their provinces to join their provincial association. So is it going to be like a competing association, or how would you do it? So
just to clarify that, sorry to cut you off. So there is not, and I found that really strange, there is no national Canadian, they're out, they're leaving?
They're going to get some drinks, I think.
Fair enough. There is no national Canadian, like craft
independent association.
No. Why? I thought that was really strange.
Well, and yeah, so again, 12 years ago or 13 years ago or whenever it was, all the brewers got together. They lobbied for this one thing. They had actually created
like a framework
for an organization, but it really just existed to get those tax breaks. And I think sort of a big part of the reason why we haven't already seen a national association is in Canada, every province has pretty much entire control over how beer is sold in their province.
Yes.
So it's not a national framework of beer regulations. It's very separate, which is kind of given all the provinces, you know, the thought that it's more important to have a provincial association than a national association. And while I agree with that, there are so many issues that cross all the borders, and so many issues that would benefit brewers right across the country. It's been that thing that we've missed. And as Canadian brewers, most of us have joined the American Brewers Association as associate members because they hold a great conference, they give great research, they do all the things that the Canadian Association, because it doesn't exist, doesn't do.
Right.
And over time, I think we've all kind of recognized that this is kind of silly.
Right.
So I guess it'd be 3 years ago at the Canadian Brewing Awards, they actually held a panel with the topic was, should Canada have its own association? And they brought up a member from the American Brewers Association, and she kind of was pretty blunt. She's like, I can't believe you don't have a national association.
Right.
You know, what's wrong with you? And I was sent to be there on behalf of Ontario, and it really got my pride going, and really made me feel like, you know what, we've got everything we need for a national association. We've got great brewers, we've got great representation. What we don't have is just that little push to get us across the line. And so we had that conversation, and then we talked about it, but nothing really happened. And then the next year, the Canadian Brewing Awards were in Ottawa, and I was asked to be the keynote speaker. So in my keynote speech, I was kind of disappointed that nothing had happened since the year before, so I took a big part of my talk to really sort of give a case for a national association. And, you know, there's lots of great reasons why we should have one, but to me the biggest reason is that without that, there's this giant void, you know, in terms of speaking on behalf of craft brewers.
Right.
And without that, you know, the people that are speaking on our behalf do not have our interests at heart. So
who's speaking on your behalf right now?
Well, right now,
Beer Canada.
You've got the only national association right now is Beer Canada.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that they're not an association of merit, but they represent kind of brewers of any size, and I think, you know, the vast majority of their funds come from, you know, the Molsons and Labatts and those folks, which means that if there's ever an issue that kind of puts, you know, multinational brewers against independent brewers, Beer Canada can't adequately speak really for either side. And so to me the most important reason is to have a collective voice and to speak on behalf of each other, but I think also to help each other. And to me, one of the things that blew me away about craft beer was the camaraderie, the companionship, and the sense that we're fighting for a common goal, which is better beer locally made. And we can do that better with a Canadian association. So I laid that out in my talk, and I guess I didn't realize, but I was inadvertently volunteering to become the voice for a national association when I did that, because suddenly brewers from right across the country were reaching out to me saying, Steve, what are you doing to make this happen? And at first I was like, well, I just said it should happen. I didn't say I wanted to be the guy that made it happen. But I started talking with Rob Engman, who's the president of Taps Media, who puts on the Canadian Brewing Awards, and he's quite passionate about this as well. And so the two of us worked with Rick Delmauzy from Sawdust City to put together a proposal to bring to this year's Canadian Brewing Awards. We were really fortunate that every single province that had an association sent a delegate.
Nice.
And we laid out our kind of vision for how this could work.
Okay.
And the way that we see it is very inclusive. We want to make it so that one province doesn't have to compete against the national association. So if you're a member of your provincial association, you're automatically a member of the national association. Okay. That way, we're really just trying to get everybody under the same tent so that we can really focus on being better for everybody.
Right.
And so we laid this out, and I was actually pleasantly amazed, not just surprised, but amazed that every single province at the table said, yes, this makes sense. Yes, I think we should work on this. Now, obviously, they're one delegate, so what we asked each delegate to do is go back to their associations, and we said by the end of June, we'd like a firm commitment that you as an association are going to participate in this. And so we're really, really hopeful right now that come the end of June, all of the provinces will say, yes, we can be part of starting this up. We don't have all the answers at this point, and nor should we, because I think the worst thing that we could do would be to say, hey, Newfoundland, hey, BC, hey, Alberta, we've figured it all out for you. Here's exactly how it should work.
Right.
All we're really saying is we can agree on the issues that are most important to us. Mm-hmm. We can agree that a national association will further this. And then we can hash it out at a table once we've got everybody at the table. But so it looks like this year there's a lot of momentum. And the interesting thing is, like I said, 13 years ago, it was the tax relief that brought everybody together. This year, it looks like it's that seal of independence that seems to be bringing everybody together, because Quebec is ready for it. Ontario's ready for it. Every province seems ready for it. Yeah. And we all seem to recognize that if we each have our own provincial seals, it's going to be harder to get awareness. It's going to be hard to get attention. It's going to be very difficult for the consumer to know what that seal really means. Whereas if we all put our resources into one seal, we just speak with a voice that's 10 times louder, and then hopefully it'll be easier to get people to really understand what that seal means. And then from an association perspective, or federation, or however it ends up getting named, what we have is that thing that brought us all together. And I think that's, timing is everything. And the fact that Foragin had that seal, in a lot of ways, is the best thing that could have happened, because it really highlighted the urgency to move on this and not take 2 years of discussions, but to make it happen now, because now is the time. Everybody in Canada needs that independent seal because it's getting more confusing every day for customers. So we need to have that seal. But if we don't,
at the same time, I think it's important that we realize that in the U.S. it took them a little while to make sure that everybody in the U.S. would be behind that, because some guilds already had their seal of independence, and when they did it, it took them quite some time because they wanted to make sure that all those people that already had seals would kind of disconnect from their own and adopt the new one. And we're lucky because there are no real seal actually in Canada, but the discussion has to be really open with all of our brewers. It makes sense that if we are to go forward with an independent seal, we might as well go with a national one, because you don't know how much money was invested in the U.S. for their independent seal. And that's, there's a lot of talk nowadays, people saying, why don't we just copy what they did in the States? It's so easy. It's really obvious.
Use the same seal?
We cannot. It was asked, the BA was asked if other countries could use it, but for copyrights reason, they will not allow that. Okay. Because they could not, decide if they could revoke the seal from one brewery in Canada because they don't have any rights. So even if it looks like it's going to be easy, there is still a lot of talk that needs to be made to make sure that that it's not going to be used against us. Because can you imagine if tomorrow morning one of those breweries that were bought back by the big guys but still have an independent part, like Trou du Diable and Archibald, they still have their pub that is independent. What do you do if they ask for the independent seal and they promote it everywhere?
I forget about asking if they just use it.
So you have to think about those things. If someone has a connection, whether it is by law or just by the name that they use, it's not something that they have in the U.S. right now in the paperwork, but it's something that we need to think about in Canada, because two of those breweries that people are afraid of, could use it against us. So I think we still need.
It's got to be done right.
Yeah, we still need to be able to sit down with all the brewers and really realize what we're doing, because if we don't do it right, someone uses the wrong way, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
It's going to go against what we needed to do, and that's why I truly believe we have to go from coast to coast with that thing. We really have to be able, if we want to promote it as a national association, because it costs the BA a lot of money to do that. So we're stronger together than trying to do our own thing.
Right. Yeah. How deep is it now? Like, how far has it gone? Is it more just like you're at the point where you're waiting for the firm commitment, and then once you get firm commitment, then it goes? Or do you, how much more work is there to do?
There's still a lot of work to happen, yeah. So with the firm commitment, then we have to bring in professionals. We've got to hire someone to create the whole thing, basically.
The name of the name of the what the logo is going to say.
Yeah, and then you get into all of the issues around, what are the bylaws and the funding and everything. We've put out a proposal for funding, at least in the interim, but on the ongoing, sort of running the business, we'd have to, agree on how it's going to be funded for sure.
Gotcha.
And so none of this is easy, and all of it takes time, but having that one thing that everybody's really concerned about speeds the whole thing up, because everybody's motivated to get it solved for that reason.
I want to actually ask, why? One of the questions I asked the boys, the Four Origins boys, was I definitely think it's important to have the seal. I know I'm from Australia. I know they brought one in late last year. And of course America has one that's just kind of cool.
England's got one now.
England's got one now. I think it's Germany or something. There's 5 countries they were saying have them.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for the consumer perspective. If you walk in, I am luckily in Canada, I kind of know because I live here and I know what's up. But if I go to the States and there's 8 billion breweries, and I found something new, and I'm like, was this faux craft? Like, you can tell like after a while.
Yeah.
But like in Canada, how many breweries have been bought out? I mean, you can count them on one hand pretty much, right? There's Granville Island, Creedmoor, Mill Street, now Archibald, True Diab, probably a couple others I'm missing. So it seems to me that even with the amount of breweries in Canada, which is
700,
in the whole country,
800, I think, but
So it's over 800, I think now.
it's
Yeah.
nothing. So of all of those, less than two hands. So how confused could the consumer get is sort of how I was thinking. Like, why is there so much passion for something that isn't that confusing? It is a little, but it's
Yeah.
not overwhelmingly so.
Well, and I think it gets more confusing every day because you've got, out of that list, then you've got things like Mad and Noisy. So that's a sub-brand of Creedmoor, which, and then you've got Rickard's Red and Rickard's White, which is a made-up brewery that doesn't even exist.
Really? I heard Rickard's White was just Blue Moon in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and all the other beers are the same thing, or just some other beers?
It's not a real brewery. It's a label that gets slapped on bottles, and people think they're buying something from a brewery.
So where does the beer come from?
From the same plant in Molson that supplies everything else.
Interesting.
So I'm told.
It sounds about.
I've never seen it being made, so I'm repeating third-hand information.
Works for me, Steve. Hearsay.
But then you've got.
So I'll have probably Jeff Molson texting and say, I want to have a chat with you. I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
I do that.
But then you've got things like Goose Island showing up. Well, is that a craft brewery? So it's less confusing in Canada. I would agree with that, but it's still confusing as shit. If you're sitting there as a consumer and you're seeing, Granville Island, Mill Street, Mad and Noisy, Creedmoor, Goose Island, you're sitting there going, oh, well, yeah, that sounds like a cool brand I've never heard of. I'll give it a try. And, it's hard for us to sometimes remember, but we live and breathe this. Most of our consumers enjoy craft beer, but it's not necessarily their all-encompassing passion. And you think, like, how much time do you spend, researching the coffee companies you buy from?
A bit. But it's coffee. Same thing, but I get you.
Yeah. Well, and I chose coffee because that's another thing that some people are really passionate about, but other people are like, I like a good cup of coffee, but if it's independent or not, I'm not that concerned as long as they make good coffee. And that's the argument we're trying to make as craft brewers, that it matters whether or not we're independent, not just do you like it.
But at the same time, what you're saying makes sense, and we have to. Some people are so in urge to have that happen, and I think we still have time to make that right, and that's what I'm trying to explain to people that are saying we need to have our Quebec logo right now. We need to have our Quebec seal by the end of the summer. Otherwise, if it's not there, we're gonna create one. We're gonna create a new one. We don't care about any association or organization that's gonna take care of it, and it's gonna be free. And whoever signs a paper saying, "Oh, I praise the Lord. I'm I'm a real guy." Come on, guys. Just give us some time. Just give all those representatives and people that are talking together to make that like a greater thing. Take the time to make sure that it's going to be used according the needs that we have, and it's going to have the impact that we aim at. Because I don't think no brewery is going to die tomorrow morning if we don't have that independent seal.
Right.
So it's better if we take time, make sure that everything's done right. So please leave us some time to do that.
Gotcha. I guess also I was playing devil's advocate, of course, but. As the craft beer community and just the market grows, that's probably going to get more confusing for people. There's going to be more people because a lot of people that are into craft, I'd say is a decent portion of them. It just becomes like a hobby, I guess, and you
Absolutely,
do get into it. You live and breathe it. I'd say I'm a few steps behind you guys, but this consumes a lot of my time as well, and I know more than the average person. But then all our friends who are just drinkers tend to end up knowing a lot about it, so then they get used to it. But as it gets introduced to more and more people, they're going to be confused. So I guess it would save that confusion, off the bat, if it's a consistent one across the country.
Yeah, I have to admit, even as someone who lives and breathes it, as soon as I step outside of, the area that I'm most familiar with, it's very confusing. And, for tourists, I think it's important, but I do think even just with the number of new breweries opening up, the marketplace gets more and more confused as to who's who and who's really a craft brewer and who's pretending to be a craft brewer.
Right.
And that confusion is hurting us. You've seen in the United States, craft beer has slowed dramatically since the big brewers started playing in that field. And if we don't do something to protect ourselves against it, we're in for the same or worse here.
Right. Do you guys see the big guys buying out more breweries? Do you think that's going to be a trend that will continue in Canada?
They each need one in each province at least.
Where are we at now? Just 3 probably?
Quebec,
Ontario, BC.
in Quebec, they're probably good for a little while.
Yeah, right. They got
Because once they buy someone, they have to invest. They have to spend a lot of money with marketing and sales and stuff like that. So I think they're pretty busy. Both big guys are pretty busy for quite some time. What I expect to see is more, small brewers getting together, or big micros buying back small micros. We could see a little bit of that.
How do you feel about that?
Well,
positive, negative?
Depends
as long
on the
as it stays
motivation of it,
independent,
right?
it's good.
Yeah,
And they brew quality.
Yeah, and I think because there's a lot of spirit of working together. If it's done right, it can be right. If it's done wrong or for the wrong motivations, I mean, just because you're a small independent brewer doesn't necessarily make you a good brewery or good people.
Very true.
Very true.
Good citizen.
So exactly. So I think there's different layers to the onion, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that it's independent and craft is great. If you really care about who you're buying from, you should know who you're buying from.
Right.
And it starts to get into a really thorny issue, because you start talking about, well, what about a brewery that's got a lot of venture capital that put money into them? Is that still independent?
Yeah.
The way it's been defined is, I think, the way it should be defined, which is it's independent of large, the global brewers, because that's independence of beer.
Which is what it's talking about. And it's a 25% market share. No, 25% ownership.
In the States, that's how they've defined it, yeah.
And they keep, I know founders were pretty annoyed with, they kept raising the production volume for Sam Adams.
That's right.
To keep them in it.
Yeah.
They had 30 or 35% bought out, and then they got kicked out of the BA.
Yeah.
Because of that, so they was like, well, what's the difference? They just keep putting up the volume for more, but I see the argument, but is that something that you guys were going to do? I guess you would have to come up with your own definition of what independent means.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest brewery in Quebec, biggest micro, is probably less than 200,000 X.
Right.
In the US, we're talking 5 million barrel.
Right.
So we're not there yet. Yeah, we're not there yet.
The scale's very different for sure. And then the percentage ownership comes up. I know it's come up in Ontario. One of the interesting ways a national association could sidestep the whole thing is just say, if you qualify in your provincial association, you automatically qualify, which kind of simplifies it, but then it means there will be differences. So one province will allow maybe 20%, and another province would only allow 10%.
So that's something that you guys have to work on, sort of clarifying at a national level, and therefore that might even trickle down to affect.
Yeah, hopefully we can harmonize things and kind of
nice.
come to agreement on the things that we can.
Okay.
But again, we're also fiercely independent. That I like the idea of a model where, you know, what qualifies as independent in Nova Scotia might be different than what qualifies in Saskatchewan, because maybe there's different issues that are at play there. So I don't like the idea of being too prescriptive about it.
Okay.
But what I do like is the opportunity for every province to see what every province has been doing, because it seems like a lot of the times we're trying to recreate the wheel. And we're having the exact same conversations, whereas if we could benefit from hearing how other people had tried to solve it, we'd all get better answers.
Right, and quicker.
And then if we started harmonizing those things, that would benefit everybody.
Right.
Where it made sense. But because I believe so much in independence of the brewery, I think the provinces need their level of independence too. And I'd hate to have a scenario where, you know, we were sitting there telling Quebec, like, you have to change your rules to accommodate a national association. I don't think it would be right.
Can you imagine Ontario telling Quebec how to be independent? That works well, usually, doesn't it?
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I guess it is. So there's a lot more. That's some stuff that I didn't even really think about. So I mean, this is quite a very in-depth, you know, very challenging task to undertake to do something like this.
Yeah, it's not as easy as saying, "Hey guys, let's all get together and do this."
Yeah,
and copy what's already happening in the States. You know, we have to.
Like, you could probably use the framework to a degree. I'm sure. Yeah.
Well, and that's where we benefit is, you know, every province has done a lot of work. The Brewers Association has been very helpful already, offering to give us all sorts of support and materials. So we don't have to start from zero.
Which is really cool.
Which is huge for us. But we have to be very conscious of the fact that every province has, you know, developed their own way. And that's I think it's important to respect that and to make sure that we don't negate what's important to someone else.
Yeah.
And I think as long as we've got the right mentality to it, then I think a lot of what could become show-stopping issues just go away. It's like, okay, you guys, you're allowed to decide what you want, but let's all tell each other what we're doing, and then maybe some of that makes sense for everybody.
Right.
And use it as the positive as opposed to the negative.
Okay. What do you think the time frame for this is going to look like? Do you guys have, or is it just sort of like take as long as it takes? Is it years? Is it?
So it's very important to me that we have a national association up and running before the next Canadian Brewing Awards.
So we've got about a year.
Yeah, by the end of this month, we'll know whether or not every province is on board. Mm-hmm. Assuming they are, it'll take us probably a month to 2 months to get someone hired. It'll take that person probably 5 or 6 months to kind of put all the pieces together. And my hope is that while they're doing that, they're also tackling this first issue, which is the seal. So that by the time we see next year's Canadian Brewing Awards, if we don't have a seal, we were really close to having worked out the issues on it.
Right.
That might be a little bit ambitious, but I've been accused of being a little bit ambitious before. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But I would be very happy if next Canadian Brewing Awards we're celebrating a national association, and we're, if not celebrating an independent seal, we're really close to it.
That's pretty good, and you feel confident like that could happen at this point?
What is it that they always say in press releases? I'm cautiously optimistic.
I like that. That is fantastic. Do we feel like we covered everything then? Looking at the notes I have here that we had, I mean, do you guys feel pretty comfortable that covered? I guess we're looking at this here.
You know, one thing that's probably important to say is when we were talking, every association, provincial association, works with really small budgets compared to what they have at the BA. You know, BA, we've been told it's $28 million that they have. Can you imagine that?
Jeez, where did they get that from?
So, you know, I think it's important for brewers to realize that if they want their association, the provincial associations, to to get on and realize stuff and do what's best for them is to join.
Right.
Because we are still there are still a lot of brewers that don't feel like, you know, their money is going to be worth, you know, investing in their association. And, you know, now everybody's talking about, oh, we want to have a seal. We want it for free. We want it for even people that are not members of associations. But, you know, somehow, somewhere, someone's going to have to pay for all that. So come on, if you don't even think that, you know, being a member of your association is worth it, come on, guys, how do you think it's going to happen?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of urging everybody, every brewer, to
pay your
join,
dues.
to pay your dues, to join. We have brewers that brew 200 hectoliters per year, and because it's part of their beliefs to be part of something bigger than them and to be part of something that works for them, they pay. And sometimes you feel like there are some other people that, you know, their beliefs is that they should have access to everything for free. Mm-hmm. Come on, guys. Get up, take your check, and send money to your association. We need that. If you want us to be able to do what you would like us to do, be part of it.
Right.
Yeah, and we face the same sort of issues in Ontario where a lot of brewers have decided not to join. Some say it's because of the money, some say it's because they don't agree with one issue or another. Yeah. But my response back is, if you disagree with an issue, even more reason you should join, because then you can vote to change that issue.
Right.
And the more people that we have on the association, the more that the association will truly reflect all brewers in the province.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the National Association. If everybody participates equally, it will equally represent all of our interests. And I think it's important that people understand, you know, the more they contribute, the more they get. It's like what's that saying? You know, you get the country you deserve, while you also get the association you deserve.
Right.
So, I think that, you know, that's a great point, and maybe a good sort of call to action to sort of end it on. And I'm looking at my pitifully empty glass. It is pathetic. And I feel like it's time to get another tiny sample of beer.
Which is why we had half pours, quarter pours even.
I thank you for the staff here at the Mondial to allow us to be at the VIP.
Yeah, super nice.
Katia and
Very
Janine
special.
and everybody at the Mondial.
Yeah, Mondial. This is going to come out after the festival, but yeah, I guess
Go next year.
Go next year. It's a lot of fun. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you guys coming down and
thank you.
Taking the time. You guys drove really far for this, and I really hope this is valuable for everybody, and they get the point. Where can people find you guys online? Let them know. Get your promo on. What do you want them to know? This will drop next Wednesday, so it's like
www.bows.ca.
Easy.
Yeah.
And www.microbrasserie.com.
Oh, really? You have microbrasserie.com?
I know.
Cheeky.
Ahead of the curve.
I love it.
That's what you get for starting your brewery 20 years ago.
Yeah. That's what you get.
Triple OGs out here. Guys, thanks again. Appreciate it. If you enjoyed the episode, give us a big fat thumbs up. Hit subscribe below. Hit the notification bell. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast. Check out the long form audio so you can hear very attractive gentlemen like these two talk about very important issues. That is it, guys. Thanks again. Cheers.
Cheers.